Valentine's Day. The manager of Aria, the upscale restaurant I frequented with my fiancée, sent me a video. In it, Claire was having a candlelit dinner with a college intern. Watching their intimate, unguarded affection, I didn't hesitate. I turned around, and with a few taps on my phone, I canceled all of Claire's credit cards. Then I made a call to my lawyer. The Hamptons Beach house her parents were living in, my house, was being reclaimed. Later, my fiancée, Claire Vance, knelt on the floor and begged me for forgiveness. I watched her, a cold amusement playing on my lips. "Claire, isn't this everything you wanted?" "Oh, and by the way," I added, my voice dropping to a silken whisper, "you and Leo can't be lovers anymore, but you two can be cellmates." Eventually, when it was Valentine's Day, I held the deed in my hand and allowed myself a small smile. Claire had mentioned offhandedly that she loved the ocean. So, I bought a sprawling, glass-walled villa right on the coast in the Hamptons. It was meant to be her Valentine's gift. All she had to do was sign the papers. But just then my phone buzzed. It was the manager from Aria, a place we'd celebrated countless anniversaries. He sent a video, no commentary needed. My fiancée, in our spot, sharing a candlelit dinner with a fresh-faced college intern. The warmth in my chest turned to ice. Looks like the beach house would remain unsigned. Aria wasn't far from my office. After a moment's consideration, I decided to see this for myself. When I arrived, they were deep in conversation, their laughter echoing softly in the restaurant's hushed atmosphere. The intern, Leo, leaned in close to whisper something in Claire's ear. Their bodies were practically touching. A blush crept up Claire's neck, and her smile was radiant. Leo's eyes were filled with a tenderness I hadn't seen directed at her in years. To any observer, they looked like a couple lost in the throes of a new, passionate romance. I walked toward their table, my footsteps silent on the plush carpet. Claire looked up at the movement, and when her eyes met mine, raw panic flashed across her face. They instantly straightened up, their smiles freezing, the intimate bubble bursting. Claire frantically smoothed her already perfect hair, a nervous gesture to mask the awkwardness. She shot up from her chair and looped her arm through mine, her voice laced with a saccharine attempt at nonchalance. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" My gaze flickered from her to the boy. She got the message immediately. "Oh, Ethan, I forgot to introduce you. This is Leo Kane, my old neighbor from back home." She was laying it on thick. I ran into his dad at a luncheon last week, and he mentioned Leo was looking for an internship. I thought, why not Sterling Enterprises? Ethan, don't get the wrong idea. I've always seen him as a little brother. I noticed the boy's, Leo's, expression dim for a fraction of a second. He looked genuinely hurt. Claire sat back down, pulling me with her. I smiled, a sharp, humorless thing. "So, does that mean he'll have to call me bro-in-law?" I pulled out a chair and sat directly across from them. The air was thick with unspoken tension. Leo, unnerved, mumbled an excuse about an early morning and practically fled the restaurant. Seeing the storm clouds still gathered on my face, Claire slid into the chair next to me, playfully shaking my arm. "What, are you jealous?" she cooed. When I didn't respond, she nudged me again. "Come on, he's just a kid. It's his first day, and I wanted to do something nice, take him out for a decent meal." I turned and looked at her, my voice cold and flat. "Do you know what kind of restaurant this is? Do you know what day it is?" Panic flared in her eyes again, her voice becoming rushed. "Ethan, I'm sorry, you're right. I wasn't thinking, but really it was innocent. It's his first day on the job," she pleaded. "And this is our place. The food is amazing. I just wanted him to try it." I watched the tears welling in her eyes, the convincing tremble of her lip. It was a masterful performance. Finally, I gave a curt nod. But in my heart, a shard of ice had lodged itself firmly in place. Seeing my nod, Claire let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She dismissed all the food on the table and ordered a completely new spread. Throughout the meal, she was the perfect fiancée, placing the best cuts on my plate, even peeling shrimp for me. Anything to prove she wasn't still angry. Anything to pretend that nothing was broken. From the first day I met Claire Vance. She had always been the picture of poised perfection. We met at Columbia. She was one of the undisputed queens of the campus, with a sweet, innocent beauty that seemed untouchable. The rumor was she came from an old money family with brutally strict parents who forbade her from dating in college. Countless guys tried to win her over, but none ever succeeded. So, when my grandfather told me she was my arranged fiancée, a pact made between our families decades ago, I wasn't opposed. Even after we were officially together, guys would still try to slip her their numbers. She would refuse them all with a polite, distant grace. For the 2 years of college and the 3 years since, I had been the only man in her orbit. I was satisfied with her sense of propriety. But today's events left a sour taste in my mouth, a scent of something fundamentally different. We were supposed to be married by the end of the year. Now, I had to reevaluate the entire arrangement. This was no longer a personal matter. It was a merger. Was it time to cut my losses, retract my initial investment, and pivot to a partner with a lower risk profile? Or should I double down, trust my initial assessment, and proceed with a deeper, more integrated partnership to secure our shared future? Her next moves would determine everything. Three days later, we were at a major venture capital pitch event at the Javits Center. Claire always accompanied me to these functions. She had a sharp mind, and her insights were often valuable. Over the years, her judgment had helped me identify several promising startups, including 2 unicorns that had yielded massive returns for Sterling Enterprises. She looked stunning tonight, dressed in a designer gown, the picture of elegance on my arm. Normally, at these events, her phone was an afterthought. But tonight I counted. In the first hour, she checked her phone 27 times. From the corner of my eye, I saw her typing furiously, a sweet, unconscious smile gracing her lips. The look in her eyes, that soft, unguarded affection. I hadn't seen it since we first started dating. "You're smiling," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Good news." Claire flinched, her smile vanishing as if it had never been. She seemed to snap back to reality, suddenly remembering I was there. She quickly shut off her phone and tucked it away, her apology immediate. She squeezed my arm affectionately. "Oh, it's nothing. Just gossiping with my bestie," she said with a light laugh. "You know, girl talk. I doubt the CEO of Sterling Enterprises would find it very interesting." I narrowed my eyes, a playful smile on my face that didn't reach them. "Oh, really? Which friend?" Her eyes darted away for a split second, a flicker of panic, but she recovered quickly. "Someone I just met the other day." I nodded slowly, letting the silence hang for a beat before letting it go. She visibly relaxed, a sigh of relief escaping her. "All right, Ethan, don't overthink it," she chirped. "After this, let's go get dinner. There's a new place that just opened up. They have the most incredible Chilean sea bass." I was allergic to cod and sea bass, a fact Claire knew very well. In all our years together, she had never once ordered those dishes when we were out. And now, she had forgotten? I turned to her, the disappointment a cold, heavy weight in my chest. "Claire, do you remember what we said when we got engaged?" She blinked, then smiled brightly. "Of course I do, Ethan. I, Claire Vance, will love only you, Ethan Sterling, for the rest of my life. I will never lie to you, hide anything from you, or do anything to betray you." She snuggled closer, her smile brilliant. "Ethan, you know you're my everything. I will always love you, and only you." I stroked her hair, ignoring the onlookers. She nuzzled into my touch like a contented kitten. Just then, her phone buzzed incessantly, a series of rapid-fire notifications. She must not have responded to the last text. A moment later, it started ringing. Anxious, she kept glancing at her purse, her hand twitching, but she didn't dare take it out. "Go on, take it," I said, my voice smooth as glass. "It might be important." She hesitated, searching my face for any sign of anger. Seeing none, she relaxed. She pulled out her phone and walked to a quiet corner to answer it. When she returned, her expression was a mask of apology. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. There's an emergency at the office. I have to go back and handle it myself." I nodded, the perfect, understanding fiancé. "Of course. Go. Don't let work pile up." As if granted a pardon, she leaned in, gave me a quick, chaste kiss on the cheek, and hurried away. After she left, the remaining startup pitches were uninspired. I didn't stay much longer myself. The moment I got back to my office, the photos arrived. A secure message from my private investigator. Ever since that day at Aria, Claire had been under my constant, invisible surveillance. After leaving the event, she hadn't gone to the office. She had gone straight to Coney Island. Leo was already there waiting for her. They spent the rest of the day on the rides, a carefree couple. The photos were sickeningly sweet, their smiles genuine, the adoration in their eyes impossible to fake. In one photo, Claire was eating a soft-serve cone, and Leo was gently wiping a smudge of vanilla from the corner of her mouth. She looked down, her cheeks the color of ripe apples. In others, they were chasing each other on the carousel, her white dress fluttering in the breeze. There was a shot of her looking back at him, a fleeting, perfect moment where the light in her eyes outshone the stars. The most damning one was taken at the peak of the Wonder Wheel, the two of them framing a heart with their hands against the sky. Every photo radiated an undeniable, intimate chemistry. My assistant, Davis, knocked and entered, placing a thick file on my desk. Everything on Leo Kane. Interesting. On the very day Claire reconnected with Leo, she had gifted him a Rolex Daytona worth over $100,000 as a welcome present. A drop in the bucket for her, but a clear sign of her infatuation. This Leo Kane was no simple intern. Though young, he had a documented history in college of being kept by several wealthy, older women. He had expensive tastes in every vice. Even more interesting, a significant portion of the money he'd acquired from these women had been anonymously donated to another person. The most beautiful girl at their university, Julia Thorne. The file showed that Julia and Leo had been classmates since high school. He had pursued her for 5 years straight, through high school and into college, without ever winning her over. Then, Julia's mother fell gravely ill, crushed by astronomical medical bills. They sold their house, their car, everything, but it was still not enough. It was right around that time that Leo Kane, the pretty boy, accepted his first patron. He then funneled most of the money to Julia through anonymous donations to a medical fund. It all clicked into place. Leo was a professional, a soft-boiled hustler who used his pretty boy face to prey on rich, lonely women. And this time, his target was Claire. Considering they hadn't crossed any physical lines yet, as far as I knew, and that our marriage was a legacy arrangement set in motion by my grandfather, I was willing to be methodical. My grandfather and hers had been like brothers. Her grandfather had saved mine during the war. They had sworn their children would marry, but they both had sons. The promise fell to our generation. When my grandfather first told me, I agreed in 3 seconds. I have an appreciation for beauty, and I was destined for a strategic marriage anyway. The breathtakingly beautiful Claire Vance seemed like the perfect choice. Before he passed, my grandfather made me promise to take care of Claire and the Vance family. And I had, for years. The Vance family fortune had dwindled to almost nothing. Their company was a hollowed-out shell, kept afloat only by contracts and capital infusions from Sterling Enterprises. The mansion they lived in, the luxury cars they drove, all gifts from me. I thought about all of this. I decided to give her one last chance. When Claire came home that evening, she was in an unusually cheerful mood. She walked in humming, swinging a small, elegant box from a pastry shop. Seeing me on the sofa, she came over and curled up beside me, nestling into my side as she always did. Ethan, I passed by La Doucerie and got you your favorite pistachio macarons. I took the box and sat on the coffee table, my voice devoid of emotion. That was thoughtful. How are things at the office? Everything gets sorted out. Her body tensed for a fraction of a second. Oh, yes. It was nothing major. All taken care of. I lifted my gaze to meet hers. Is that so? You didn't happen to go to Coney Island today, did you? A friend of mine called, said he saw someone who looked just like you. The color drained from her face. She forced a laugh. No, of course not. I was stuck at the office all day. I wish I had time for that. She squeezed my arm. Besides, if I were going to go, I'd want you to be with me. I didn't reply. Instead, I handed her the file Davis had prepared. She looked at it, confused. What's this? She hesitated, then curiosity won out. She opened it. The file was a detailed ledger of Leo Kane's life since college. A list of his benefactors, timelines, and copies of intimate text messages. There were photos of him at exclusive nightclubs, draped over different women. The further she read, the darker her expression became. By the last page, her face was a thundercloud. She slapped the file shut and slammed it onto the coffee table with a loud crack. Ethan, I have explained this to you. There is nothing going on between Leo and me. We are just friends. Her voice trembled with rage. Do you have to stoop so low as to fabricate this garbage just to slander him? She snatched the file and, in a fit of fury, ripped it to shreds. Ethan, I've known Leo since we were kids. I know what kind of person he is, and I know it better than you. With that, she turned and stormed out of the house. I stared at her retreating back, a cold fire burning in my gut. This woman, who had always been the image of gentle compliance in my presence, was now baring her teeth at me. For kept boy. For a hustler. Fine. Everything the Vance family had was a gift from me. If she didn't appreciate it, I would simply take it all back. I pulled out my phone. A new video message from a P.I. had arrived an hour ago. In it, Claire was dropping Leo off at his apartment. As they were saying goodbye, Leo suddenly pulled her into an embrace and kissed her, full on the lips. Claire's expression was one of shock, but she didn't push him away. After Leo was gone, she sat in her car for a long time, just staring into space before finally touching up her lipstick and driving off. I called the P.I. and asked for Leo's current location. He gave me an address immediately. My next call was to my assistant, Davis. Leo Kane is at Oblivion in the meatpacking district. Arrange a welcome party for him. I want him to have an accident, one that makes it difficult for him to stand up for himself. A beat of silence, and get in touch with a woman named Julia Thorne. I want to see her in my office tomorrow. Yes, Mr. Sterling, Davis replied, his voice calm and efficient. At Oblivion, Leo was celebrating with a few sycophantic friends. He felt a persistent gaze on him from across the crowded room. When he looked, he saw a stunningly beautiful girl, dressed like a college student, drinking alone at a small table. Her large, clear eyes met his, and he felt a jolt. He'd been playing this game for years. He knew the type. Young, innocent, fresh to the city's nightlife, the easiest prey. Tonight was his lucky night. He grabbed a bottle of expensive champagne and sauntered over. Hey, he began smoothly. All alone. Leo was a master of this game. With a few well-chosen words, he tapped into her loneliness. They hit it off immediately, drinking and talking like old friends. The girl couldn't hold her liquor. Before long, she was passed out at the table. Heart pounding with excitement, Leo helped her out of the club and into a hotel room he'd already booked. But just as he had her undressed and was about to make his move, the girl's eyes snapped open. In a surge of adrenaline-fueled panic, she unleashed a furious series of kicks directly at his groin. He never saw it coming. The sheer force was shocking. He collapsed, a wave of blinding, sickening pain washing over him. The area was a ruin of blood and mangled flesh. He was finished, but it wasn't over. The girl, now sobbing hysterically, threatened to call the police to accuse him of attempted rape. Leo, writhing on the floor in agony, was terrified. The thought of prison was worse than the pain. He begged her, pleaded with her through tears and screams not to call the cops. Seeing his pathetic, broken state, the girl seemed to take pity on him. She agreed not to press charges. She even kindly called 911 for him before she left. Leo, his mind a haze of pain and hatred, wanted to kill her, but all he could do was stammer his thanks as he bled onto the hotel carpet. The next day, I met with the other woman in my office, Leo's white whale, Julia Thorne. He had chased her for years, bankrolled her life through other women, and had never so much as held her hand. If you looked at it a certain way, Leo was a true devotee of love. The moment I saw Julia, I understood. She was more beautiful than Claire and younger. She had a breathtaking figure, a dancer's grace, and skin so flawless it looked like porcelain. She wore a simple linen dress that did little to hide the stunning curves beneath. Her long, perfectly shaped legs drew the eye and held it. It was no wonder Leo had chased her for so long, willing to sacrifice everything for her, acting as her self-appointed guardian, fending off any other men who got too close. I glanced through her file again, then looked at her. Ms. Thorne, given your credentials, top of your class, a campus beauty, you must have had countless admirers. I'm curious why you have no dating history to speak of. Julia paused for a moment, then began her story, her voice even and measured. Mr. Sterling, when my mother was young, she was the most beautiful woman in her town. She started dating when she was 16. From what I know, she had more boyfriends than she could count on both hands. But when it came time for marriage, her reputation preceded her. No respectable man would have her. She had to move away and start over. Unfortunately, the result was the same. Men only wanted her for her looks. Occasionally, a simple, honest man would propose, but by then my mother had seen the world and looked down on them. Later, she became pregnant with me. She wasn't even sure who my father was. Everywhere we went, people would point and whisper. I grew up with the weight of her shame on my shoulders, moving from town to town. We were poor. There were times I didn't have enough to eat. I thought that was my destiny, a life of poverty. But then, her luck changed. She found a rich man. Yes, she said, anticipating my thought. She became his mistress. Our lives improved dramatically. We lived in a mansion, drove luxury cars. But it didn't last. My mother, she cheated on him, too. She ended up being sold to a human trafficking ring in Southeast Asia. She was eventually rescued, but by then, her body and spirit were broken. She came back with a host of diseases and was later diagnosed with kidney failure. She told the story without a trace of emotion, as if she were recounting the plot of a movie she'd once seen. So I asked, intrigued, are you disillusioned with love, or have you just lost all faith in men? A spark of shrewd intelligence lit up her eyes. Neither, she said. Mr. Sterling, I just think my mother was a fool. Beauty is a form of capital. She just never learned how to invest it. So, she views herself as a rare commodity, I thought. I was beginning to understand. This woman wasn't just beautiful. She was brilliant. Julia continued. I simply believe that if my mother had not given herself away so freely, perhaps a man might have actually cherished her. My admiration for her grew. I decided to get straight to the point. Ms. Thorne, I will cover all of your mother's medical expenses. In addition, I will provide you with a monthly stipend of $50,000. I will arrange for a penthouse for you at the Mandarin Oriental, complete with a staff of 3, and 2 full-time female bodyguards for your personal security. And of course, should you bear a child, there will be a significant bonus. Julia stood up smoothly and extended a delicate hand. Deal. I looked her directly in the eye, my voice firm. One condition. There can be no indiscretions on your part. She smiled, a dazzling, confident expression. You have nothing to worry about, Mr. Sterling. My mother's life was a very powerful, very painful lesson. Then she added, her voice dropping slightly, now, I'd like to inspect the assets. Of course, dealing with intelligent people was so efficient. My office has a private lounge attached to it. Though Julia had been the picture of calm confidence during our negotiation, when a moment came, her composure faltered. She held on to me tightly, her nails digging into the flesh of my back. A flicker of something protective, something I hadn't felt in years, stirred within me. I could feel her entire body trembling. 2 hours later, she was sleeping soundly in my arms, a picture of contented exhaustion. I had an important board meeting that afternoon. I slipped out of the lounge without waking her, careful not to disturb her rest. After the meeting, I made the calls. Claire's Amex Black Card was declined, and a team of movers, accompanied by my lawyers, was dispatched to the Hamptons to reclaim the house and the cars. That evening, Claire was dragged to my doorstep by her mother. Mrs. Vance, usually dripping with jewels and condescension, was hunched over, her face a mask of pleading smiles. Ethan, darling, if Claire did something to upset you, I'll make her get on her knees and apologize. Please. You two have been engaged for so long. Don't let a silly little spat ruin the bond between our families. I laughed, a cold, empty sound. Mrs. Vance, it's not a matter of me being unreasonable. I have given your daughter multiple chances. She's the one who chose not to take them. Mrs. Vance shot a furious glare at Claire. You stupid girl, what did you do? Apologize to Ethan this instant. Claire just stared at me, her voice defiant. Ethan, so, I got a little close to Leo. So what? First you slander him with a fake dossier, and now you're punishing my entire family over something so trivial. Are you serious? Her mother looked like she was about to have an aneurysm. What had happened to her gentle, obedient daughter? She slapped Claire hard across the face, the sound echoing in the marble foyer. You wretched child. I told you to apologize. Claire clutched her reddening cheek, her eyes welling with tears, but her defiant stance didn't waver. Mrs. Vance, shaking with rage, was forced to turn back to me, humbling herself before a man half her age. I let out a soft chuckle. Ma'am, I think you should ask your daughter what she's really been up to. This isn't something a simple apology can fix. It was then that Mrs. Vance seemed to realize the transgression was far more serious than she'd imagined. She grabbed Claire's arm, her knuckles white. What did you do with that Leo boy? Claire winced in pain, her expression stubborn. Mother, I told you we just spent some time together. We're friends. Nothing more. What's wrong with that? She turned her fury back to me. For years, I've done everything Ethan wanted. Am I not allowed to have any freedom? I can't even be friends with another man. We're not even married yet, and he's already trying to control every aspect of my life. What kind of life would I have with him? My gaze was pure ice. Claire, everything your family has, you have because of me. If you wanted to have a few male friends, I wouldn't have cared. But there are boundaries. There are lines of respect that you do not cross. And you, what did you do? On Valentine's Day, you took him for a candlelit dinner at our restaurant. You accompanied me to a vital investor conference and spent the entire time texting him, smiling like a fool, and lying to my face that you were talking to your bestie. You claimed you had a work emergency, but you were really spending the entire day with him at an amusement park. You say you're just friends and that nothing happened. Then how do you explain this? I threw a stack of glossy 8x10s at her face. They scattered across the floor. You say nothing happened between you. What about your decency, Claire? The top photo was a crystal clear shot of Leo holding her, his lips pressed firmly against hers. The blood drained from Claire's face. She stumbled backward, the defiant anger melting away into pure, panicked desperation. No, it's not like that. She scrambled to pick up the photos, her fingers trembling so badly she couldn't grasp them. Mrs. Vance was apoplectic. She finally understood the depth of her daughter's betrayal. She knew that dozens of powerful families were desperate to forge an alliance with the Sterlings. If not for an old debt of honor, the Vances would never have even been considered. After this, there would be no more chances. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, Mrs. Vance lunged at Claire, hitting and kicking her with a fury that was truly shocking. She was trying to beat the apology out of her. I waved a hand, and my security guards moved in to escort them out. Mrs. Vance, if you wish to discipline your daughter, please do it in your own home. Don't dirty my floors. As she was dragged away, Claire's composure finally shattered. Her cries echoed down the hall. Ethan, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please, give me one more chance. I'll never do it again. The next day, Sterling Enterprises released an official statement. All contracts and partnerships with Vance Industries were terminated, effective immediately. The Vance Company was already a zombie corporation, animated only by the lifeblood of my company's business. 90% of their revenue came from us. The announcement was a death sentence. Claire finally understood. The panic set in. She called me 99 times that morning. I didn't answer once. By the afternoon, she was kneeling on the sidewalk in front of the Sterling Tower, holding a massive bouquet of roses. I had security remove her. When I went to the parking garage after work, she jumped out from behind a pillar, only to be immediately intercepted by my bodyguards. Her face was a mess of tears and desperation. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you. I regret it so much. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. I swear I'll never do it again. We were supposed to get married at the end of the year. You can't do this to me. My voice was laced with derision. And why can't I? Did you really think I would still want you after this? Claire, I gave you a chance. I even showed you proof of what a degenerate Leo really is, hoping you would see the truth. And how did you repay me? There's a line of women who would do anything to marry me, Claire. Candidates for a strategic alliance who are far more valuable than you. Why would I ever give another chance to a partner who enjoys all the benefits of our arrangement while lying to my face, who has no concept of loyalty or honor? She shook her head violently, fat tears rolling down her cheeks. No, that's not it. Ethan, I was wrong, but you're wrong about Leo. He's not that kind of person. At that, the last flicker of interest I had in the conversation died. I got in my car and sped away, leaving her there. Her heartbroken scream chased me out of the garage. Ethan. Over the next few weeks, Claire continued to try and ambush me, but my security team was always there to block her. Vance Industries didn't last 3 months before declaring bankruptcy. Davis reported to me, with some amusement, that Claire and Leo were officially together. I had to laugh. Leo was a shell of a man now, physically incapable, yet he was still managing to manipulate her. A few days later, another update. Claire had sold off all her designer bags, jewelry, and luxury goods, scraping together over $300,000 for Leo's startup. He took the money to an underground casino and lost it all in one night. They were spotted having a massive, screaming argument on a street corner, a crowd gathering to watch the spectacle. Davis asked if I was interested in seeing the show. I checked my schedule. I had a free afternoon. I took Julia and a few bodyguards and went for a drive. From a distance, I could see a thin, haggard figure that was barely recognizable as Claire. She was dressed in cheap, plain clothes. Her skin was rough, her face etched with exhaustion. The old Claire had been beautiful, but even then, she paled in comparison to Julia. Now, the difference was astronomical. Claire was clutching Leo's arm, her voice choked with sobs. "You bastard, Leo. You told me you needed capital for a business. I gave you everything I had left, and you gambled it away. How could you do this to me?" "Well, I thought he used to have 4 vices. Now he's down to 3. Leo shoved her away violently. "Get off me," he snarled. "The great Claire Vance. And that's all you could come up with? A measly 300 grand. If you're broke, we're done. Now get lost and stop bothering me." Claire stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. Were you only with me for my money?" The onlookers started murmuring, pointing at Leo and calling him scum. Sensing he was losing the crowd, Leo softened his tone, his expression shifting back to one of feigned sincerity. "Claire, baby, I just had a run of bad luck. Do you have any more? I swear I can win it all back. I'll pay you back every penny, I promise." It was as if a switch had flipped. Claire finally saw him for what he was. She slapped him hard across the face. "Are you even human, Leo?" she screamed. "If it wasn't for you, would I be here? Would my family have lost everything?" The slap ignited Leo's temper. The mask of civility crumbled, revealing the ugly, vicious man beneath. He rubbed his cheek, his eyes glinting with malice. He slapped her back, even harder. "You need a reality check, Claire," he sneered. "Who was the one who chased me? Who bought me watches and threw money at me? Who was begging to be with me? Now that your family is broke, suddenly it's my fault." Claire crumpled to the ground, a look of utter despair on her face. Leo stood over her, contemptuous. "You think you're still the precious princess Ethan Sterling kept on a pedestal. If you didn't have some cash left, you think I would have wasted my time with you for this long?" Just then, his eyes scanned the crowd and landed on Julia. He froze, as if struck by lightning. Then he saw me standing next to her, and his face went white with a mixture of rage and fear. He tried to rush forward, but my bodyguards blocked his path. "Julia? Delby, what are you doing with him?" he stammered. "No, Julia, you can't be with him. He'll use you. He's just playing with you because you're innocent." Everyone turned to look at Julia. A collective gasp went through the crowd. She was, in that moment, impossibly beautiful. Her poise, her grace, her ethereal quality. It was mesmerizing. Claire, of course, saw us too. Her mind went blank. She just stared catatonic. Julia faced Leo's desperate questions with unnerving calm. "Who I am with," she said, her voice cool and clear, "is none of your concern." Leo completely lost control. "No, you can be with anyone else, anyone but Ethan Sterling," he shrieked, his voice breaking into a sob. It dawned on me then. He must have figured out who was responsible for his accident, even without any proof. He hated me with every fiber of his being, but he was powerless. And now, the woman he had sacrificed everything for, his one pure obsession, was with his greatest enemy. The irony was devastating. I looked at Leo, my expression mocking. "You're worried about Julia?" He looked at me, confused. What do you mean? You should be more worried about what's behind you." He turned, and a new kind of terror seized him. Marching toward him was a group of 7 or 8 formidable, expensively dressed older women. Their faces were contorted with rage, their eyes promising murder. This revenge squad was, of course, another of Davis's arrangements. These women were powerful and proud. The news that they had all been played by the same young gigolo had not been well received. "Leo Kane, you little parasite," one of them shrieked. "You ate my food, lived in my penthouse, took my money, and you were cheating on me the whole time. I'm going to kill you, you little bastard," another screamed. "A real-time management expert, aren't you? Juggling all of us at once." What followed was brutal. The women descended on him like a pack of wolves. They pinned him to the ground and unleashed their fury. His pig-like squeals echoed down the street. They were merciless. They scratched, pinched, kicked, and punched. One woman took off her stiletto and started beating him over the head with it. Leo scrambled to escape, but they were relentless. "You goddamn leech, you worthless con artist. When I was paying your bills, what did I tell you? Did I say you could see other people? The money, where's my money? You're going to pay back every last cent." "Hey, wait a minute. What happened to his?" "You know, I had to admit they were thorough. They nearly ripped his pants off in the struggle." The crowd roared with laughter. Leo, burning with humiliation, desperately tried to pull his pants up. After they had beaten him half to death, the women started talking about dragging him to the nearest police station. That broke him. He fell to his knees, begging and sobbing, banging his head on the pavement. In the end, he signed a stack of IOUs for exorbitant sums. Only then did they let him go. As they left, they delivered their ultimatum. He had 1 month to pay it all back, or they would collect the debt with his life. Throughout all this, Claire had watched, her face a mask of horror. The last vestiges of her denial had been violently stripped away. She looked like a hollowed-out doll, her eyes vacant. She finally knew that everything I had told her was true. And Leo, he wasn't even a whole man anymore. She had thrown everything away, her fiancé, her family's fortune, her future, for this pathetic, broken fraud? She, who was supposed to be the lady of the manor, the future Mrs. Sterling. Now, she had nothing. Claire turned her gaze to me. It was the look of a drowning person spotting a single piece of driftwood. With a gut-wrenching sob, she scrambled over and collapsed at my feet. "Ethan, I was wrong. Please. Please don't give up on me. I'll never do it again. I swear. Ethan, please forgive me. We can still get married. I'll be a good wife. I promise. I'll be faithful. I'll do whatever you want, please. Just give me one more chance." She knelt on the dirty pavement, her body racked with convulsive sobs. I looked down at her, my expression unreadable, my heart of stone. "Claire," I said, my voice quiet but final. "Don't you think it's a little too late for that?" I turned my attention to Julia. Throughout the entire spectacle, her expression had remained serene. Not a flicker of pity, not a hint of schadenfreude. She simply stood by my side, a silent, elegant presence. The contrast between the two women in that moment was stark. One, a broken, pathetic creature, kneeling and begging for scraps. The other, a poised and beautiful woman, standing confidently by my side. Claire seemed to realize it, too. She knew it was truly over. The desperate hope in her eyes died, replaced by a dull, empty despair. She didn't say another word. She slowly, painfully, picked herself up and walked away, a lost soul disappearing into the city crowd. I watched her go, a fleeting image of our first meeting flashing through my mind. She was wearing a pink floral dress, her hair in a ponytail, her skin flawless. She was impossibly beautiful, like something from a dream. She had loved to curl up in my arms, a perfect mix of playful and demure. Back then, Claire had been so bright, so dazzling. But she made her choice, and now she had to pay the price. Leo's deadline was 1 month. Desperate, he began to relentlessly harass Claire, convinced she was hiding money from him. Having been bled dry and utterly betrayed, her love had curdled into a deep, abiding hatred. She couldn't stand the sight of him. One day, when he showed up at her dingy apartment, screaming and threatening her, she finally snapped. She grabbed a kitchen knife and plunged it into his heart. Davis gave me the news while I was at an appointment with Julia. We were at her OB/GYN looking at the ultrasound screen. The doctor announced we were having twins. I was ecstatic. That night, I had a fireworks display launched over the Hudson River, a celebration for a new beginning.